Alakazam. Ah, good evening, gentlemen.
Alakazam or Shazam? Which comic are you talking about here? How you gentlemen doing tonight?
What's going on, Brother Don?
I don't know, man. Shoot. Tired of running the dang road. Excuse me. Yeah. I'm going to have to mute this. Y'all go ahead.
He just got to get set up for me. He'll be back. He just
I think we found the Stoned Ape Theory.
We found it.
I see what you did there. See? I just got a little bronchitis, that's all.
Yeah, but it is.
Yeah, how are you gentlemen doing tonight?
Well, I'm rocking and rolling, kid. What about you?
I'm the same. I'm doing beautiful, man. Had a nice day today. Getting some shit done around the house, outside, and I guess this next week is supposed to be back to winter.
Cold as hell.
Man, I've been enjoying it. It's like 45. I think it's gonna be maybe 50 tomorrow, so it's been nice. Been able to get quite a bit done before the holidays, so gonna take advantage of the nice weather.
Ain't that the dang truth? Now then, enough about the weather. I have missed you fellas, and I've been out of the loop for a while. So y'all want to kind of catch me up on just whatever's going on in the world? I would love to, because, hey, we normally have some great conversations and stuff, but, yeah, life is life, and so I've been out of the loop. Catch me up, fellas. What's going on in the world?
Not all at once.
Well, I mean, kid.
Well, that's kind of what I was waiting on. It's like, oh, well, fuck. If I didn't miss nothing, please just say, Don, you ain't missed shit. Don't even fucking worry about it. So, how about those ducks?
The only thing that you haven't missed really is we were talking earlier about the JFK and them, releasing more documents and stuff as far as that goes. We've been talking a little bit about that and whatnot. You had any thoughts on that, Don? How do you feel about the JFK assassination?
Well, I'd really rather know about, y'all published a few, casts and stuff, so I really want to hear a little more about it. I mean, the JFK thing has always been, a controversy, and, people have been like, oh, it is a conspiracy or it is not a conspiracy. So there's a whole lot of that stuff. I've watched, a few of the movies. I've done a little reading and stuff. But, man, those waters are so murky. And truly, it could go either way. It just kind of depends on whether you're the type of person that believes in the shadow government, or if you're the type of person that just believes, man, there's just some people who just don't want good to be in the world. So I'm kind of in the middle ground there. I will lean towards something was going on, but maybe not as bad as a lot of them think. But now that's just one thing. Y'all have had a couple other shows. So what can you tell me about the JFK conspiracy or anything else y'all would like to talk about? Hello?
Brad? You want to elaborate? I wanted your opinion. I especially wanted your opinion on the JFK deal, because you can just tell how your mind operates, that you'd have a differing view of most people. That's why I thought it'd be interesting to get your view. My question is that you think that it's basically split into two camps, to where people that believe that the government is looking out for you, and then people that believe that the government isn't looking out for you.
No, I believe that you got a whole lot of the government that think they're looking out for you. And, some of that goes back to, we've had the discussions before, Brad and I, about the people who get offended on your behalf. It's almost like the feeling of, well, you're just too stupid to know that this is bad for you. So you have the camp of the government is too much in control because they know better than you are, which is imposing on whatever you believe. And then you have the other one where it's like you just got the crazy. It's like, well, this guy's going to actually correct things. There's a lot of middle ground. the JFK documents, I didn't get into it a bunch. JFK, look, I know some people are, I'm going to label them Trumpanzees because that is the current term. It's the people who just, JFK was a dirty bastard. I mean, I'm sorry. He's having sex with, Marilyn Monroe, and they're sneaking people out. And, you can be conservative as you would like, but dirty folks are just dirty bastards. I mean, I'm sorry. And so it could be there was just people just jealous, and just somebody decided, just like the guy that broke into old Paul Pelosi's house and hit his ass in the hammer. Yeah, they'll say it's political, but I promise you, it's going to be one of those little groups of folks who, like, they believe the pizza-eating babies in a basement somewhere, or the Jew lasers, And, they just kind of go off the hinge. And JFK could have absolutely been exactly that, because Marilyn Monroe was a figure. Jackie, Jackie was a great looking woman for her time. He could have been nothing more than jealousy. I'm just not it's got to be the government. It can just be crazy that makes some of this shit happen.
I'd have to agree with you on that. But I mean, there's definitely evidence to suggest that that people were financed and led on to believe, But you're right though. Is how far can you look into it to where even the data you're looking at is maybe falsified as well?
Right, and so that's kind of where where I'm open-minded in terms of, well, I'm just not going to take the shit that
the official story you've got to admit the Warren Commission story makes no sense with reality.
Right, which is where it goes back to your fed shit. There comes a point that, well, you either just eat it and go, oh, that's some good stuff, or you go, well, I'm going to eat it. That don't mean I like it, because I don't think I'm actually getting the full meal. And look, man, that stuff goes on all over the place. I mean, if you go back to just the recent times, there's a certain laptop that everybody complains about. Well, it comes out, it's about hiding dick pics. It goes back to everybody has their own things they want to kind of hide. And, during that time period, just look at the corruption. I mean, have you ever watched Mad Men? It's a series. It's about ad folks.
I don't know. A lot of that leans to the two-tier justice system we have as well. I don't know. You talk into that, and they're all, it's different layers as far as that, for sure. But nobody's been put on trial for the JFK. Anybody that's been involved with it, even the E. Howard Hunt, the people that came out and admitted to it, I don't believe that they were convicted for, I think the Watergates where E. Howard Hunt got hung up on, and he ended up getting convicted on that. I don't think anybody's ever been really convicted on anything directly related to the JFK assassination that I'm aware of. Have you guys heard anything? Brad, you still here?
I somehow think we must have lost Brad way the hell back, and me and you were just talking, and none of this is being recorded. Either that or his
no. It's, hey, guys.
There you go.
I say even better. If he wouldn't have said anything, he probably would have had the best recording ever.
I was trying to shut the fuck up, but I was over taking a piss, had my shit on mute, man. Y'all motherfuckers talking. I was like, I was peeing long and strong, and all of a sudden, I'm like, oh shit, they're gonna hang up. I gotta get over there.
Well, there's been so many silences. It's like one of us asks questions. It's like cricket, 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 and I'm like, okay,
where's our fearless leader?
For silences. Yeah, look, we're gonna be fine for silence.
First ever flag content for awkward silence.
For awkward silence, like, okay, so Don't hop up and get on the bandwagon at all. Okay.
Hey, I've got a program called Audacity that will get rid of all that fucking stuff.
Yeah, well,
come on.
You know, but we were still worried that you were gone, and we're like, well, what the fuck? Where's Brad?
You know, but I seriously though, I kind of fall in between what you guys were talking about there. That, you know, because the reality of it is that I don't even know what all happened back then. And from what I've seen, it looks crooked as hell. It looks crooked as hell to me. It's like, man, you gonna kill a president? Now, first off, I don't give a shit who it is. They put me in an open ass car like that. I'm like, fuck you, bro. You like put some shit on top of me or something. You know, I ain't gonna be having no open cab convertible shit driving through Dallas, Texas. I don't give a fuck who I am, bro. I done been there before. I know better than that. Come on.
Yeah, but you know, now come on.
Times were different, man. It was the '60s.
There you go. That's what I was gonna just point out is at that time, you know, come on. Most folks in the country didn't lock their door. The kids stayed out past dark and they rode bikes with little dinga bells on there, like, oh, we're flying over the moon with E.T. I mean, it was Wally and Beaver every day during that time period. But I guess that's what I was trying to get with, you know, was it truly political? Because it looks weird, but, you know, is that because the government's hiding something? Is it because somebody just got really weird and they're like, okay, we just thought everybody was perfect and we let this happen. And so they try to cover it up the other direction. And so it looks funny because it's really the opposite of what everybody thinks. You know what I'm trying to say? They're trying to hide embarrassment or they're trying to hide a conspiracy. Go ahead, please.
I got a question for you because Kid and I talked about this last night. Do you think that you know, Oswald did it by himself? Yes or no? This is a yes or no question.
No.
You can answer. See, that's exactly that was our answer too. No, because it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, how could this guy do it all that shit right there without having some other planning? There's no way.
I know, but see, that is the point that I was right, because now there's that big crux of, you know, the conspiracies. Is it because there was a conspiracy? Because, you know, hey, during that time he was very popular. Maybe he had a few ideas that the people in power didn't like, you know, the CIA. Maybe he had some secret dealings. Or was it just a jealousy thing? Again, that man was a player. He was all over the place. So did they let him get killed because of their retardation? And it was can you imagine President of the United States killed because jilted lover? Can you imagine the Secret Service ever announcing that? Or was it actually a conspiracy spot? See, there's kind of my crux of it is it could have been equally the same thing, but not necessarily a government conspiracy.
I don't know.
Who would be the jealous spouse? I mean, are you talking about Joe DiMaggio and his mob ties, or are you talking about Dorothy Killigan, or who are you talking about? Which one? Or just maybe a group of them?
No, just a couple folks who they wanted Marilyn Monroe, and they was jealous that this man was monopolizing her thing, and he had Jackie, and you know, it's kind of like, oh, it's harmless for Lyndon B. Johnson to be diddling some guy in the closet, but if it ever came out to public, what kind of conspiracy story would they come up with to make something happen to cover it? For their idiocy, for the embarrassment. I guess that's where I'm trying to get with, is maybe they were embarrassed and they had to hide it, which is why the story sounds weird. I mean, it's just kind of one of those harebrained things. Truly, I just think they're covering something up because Oswald couldn't have done it by himself, you know, but I'm also just throwing out an extra thing of, man, you know, it could just be random, harebrained. Well, we're embarrassed.
I see where you're getting.
Yeah.
I see where you're getting with it, but it's been 50 years, and if it was something like that, you think that, you know, 20 years, 25 years, you know, they've kicked the can and kept denying releasing all the documents, and now that they have supposedly 97% of them released, why are there still redactions in these documents? They say it's for national security when everybody that's involved in it that we're aware of has passed away. So what else? If it's a jilted lover, any of those security concerns have already been addressed and been resolved years, decades now, we can say, ago. So if it was just a jilted lover type deal, you think they would have already adjusted their security plans and come out and admitted to it? Because, you know, the government has admitted to some embarrassing things that have happened, and they've come out and explained it, and then it was no big deal. But just keeping it a secret alone and not releasing it, whether there is or isn't a conspiracy, is a conspiracy in itself.
Well,
yes, it is.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. But I guess, you know, look at it from the perspective of, okay, you know, some of the conspiracy theories they've come out and admitted, those were not as big as the JFK. I mean, come on, look how many channels are about just the JFK conspiracy. All right, so 50 years later, there's no way there could be. Now, this is just me, my opinion, and, you know, hey, that and $25 at Starbucks will get you a cup of coffee. But, hey, Brad, yes, the cost keeps going up.
I mean, it was $3 a cup a while ago. Now it's like $25.
Yeah, hey, at Starbucks.
It'll be 50 by the time we hang up.
Right. But it does go to the point of redactions 50 years later. If it was a government thing, if it was something to do with some foreign intelligence, see, I would believe there would be less redactions. There would be more clear things. Because
y'all are talking about 50 years. It's actually 60 years. Because I'm 51 and I was 71. You know, so this is like in a 63 to 60-something years ago, bro. That shit should be pretty wide open. There's nobody alive that was involved in that. They should release that shit 100%.
I understand.
I need to see what happened.
Yes, sir. And that's where I go back to my theory about it was an embarrassment thing. After 50 years, I don't see how you could say national security is involved unless it's just because this case is so popular, so many movies,
That's the only reason. You can't keep documents secret. You can't keep documents secret in this country, though, just because of the political fallout that they're going to cause. That is not a reason to keep something classified.
No, it's not. But that's
illegal.
Reason, but it's a good reason for them in their mind to keep it redacted for the embarrassment. That's a conspiracy. That's where I was trying to get to with that. Is I don't think it's necessarily a conspiracy of the killing. I think it's the embarrassment of they allowed the killing to happen in some shape, form, or fashion. Political, lust,
personal, whatever. Right.
Yeah, any form of motivation. I think they let it happen. And they're embarrassed by it.
Kid was talking about last night, and you and I have heard about this too, Donald, is that the CIA or whoever was supposed to be protecting the president were out drunk, and they weren't even able to respond. They weren't able to be proactive, much less even react. So, I mean, that's kind of it could be something as simple as that. But I'm gonna tell you, if you start looking at Osborne, if you look at Osborne and where he was the year before all this went down, and how it lined up with him being there that day, I mean, I wonder what's going on with it, bro. There's got to be something to me.
Well,
I don't know.
Take it a little deeper. Take it a little deeper. All right. So Oswald was there, and he had his communist rhetoric, or let's just say all of that is true. As far as any of the things that say, "Hey, this is a good quote scapegoat," close quotes. There's what I was trying to get at. If there was an embarrassment, they went back and found someone that they could pin it on, that, hey, here's a sympathizer, here's something. They create this huge story. Now, it doesn't have to be anything more motivated than political or, even lobbyists. There's a lot of stuff that goes on with the presidency that is not made public. And we all know JFK was a player like a son of a bitch. And I don't think go ahead.
Kid,
sorry.
And Dominic, he liked that crystal meth. And I'm going to let you take it, kid. But, he Oswald called himself a patsy. We talked about that last night. Let's dip our toe in that, because why don't he say that out in public, kid?
I mean, I think that, I think he was a ship dipped. I mean, but here's the thing: if Oswald, did act alone or whatnot, how did they know to go and arrest Oswald? If he escaped the book depository, he made it away from the scene. Okay, he kills Officer Tipton based solely off of a very, very generic description over the radio. Okay, somehow he recognizes that Lee Harvey Oswald is the guy that they're looking for that pulled the trigger at the school book depository. But there's no eyewitnesses to him shooting from the school book depository, and they arrested him immediately. So how did they know it was him? I understand if there was a delay in time where it took them a day or two, like, oh, well, come to look at all the, the records of people that worked at this building. There's one guy that's missing today, and it's been 3 days and he hasn't been to work and he is no longer living at his house. We can't find him. So he's, that's definitely the guy that did it. They were onto him immediately.
Yeah.
And how did they know it was him immediately if, they weren't already having him lined up as the patsy? If it was an afterthought, like, oh, shit, they finally got him, let's blame him, then that decision was made immediately. I mean, within, an hour of, there's no way that government's that connected, especially that day and age with communication and stuff like that. There's no way they set up the patsy line within that amount of time. I don't think that they could.
Well, and
it seems like that he was set up to be the patsy before the incident even happened, and then therefore that does lean to a conspiracy. There was a planning of some sort to either blame him for it. So who was the people that doing it? A jilted lover would set up a patsy? That's why I just don't think it,
No.
It leans towards the Playboy side of it. And if it does lean towards the Playboy side of it, it would be more of a Joe DiMaggio and the mob, because the mob was there that day. The three tramps, we talked about Woody Harrelson's dad. He was a hitman for a drug, two drug brothers that were in a mob. So, you know what I mean? That's what it would seem like to me. It would be something like that. And then at that same time, the mob was involved with the CIA. They were doing business with them.
Hey, I just did a quick Google search. The population of Dallas in 1963 was about 700,000. That's just Dallas. That's not including the Dallas Metroplex, which is Fort Worth, Arlington, all those towns around there. That's us. Even back then, it was over 1 million people. So how did they get this guy so quick unless he was a patsy, unless they already had figured out who he was? That's my input. What do you think?
Well, let me throw this in here. All right, so the president's coming to town. Do y'all not think, all right, let's just say the president has done something just unsatisfactory, or maybe he's just done some things that's going to embarrass the country, or maybe he's totally fine. All right, so before the president comes to an area, they're going to do research. They're going to look up reports. They're going to look up all kinds of things. Now, if it's a planned type operation, like, what we're discussing and stuff, the CIA was sanctioned it, they set it all up, which is very, very possible because of all the things going on during that time period. I mean, look at today. We've got the nuclear stuff with Putin and all this kind of thing. Well, that was going on in a time period where the technology was not available that we have today to watch it. So the fear factor's way up. Everything's up. We're doing things to compete. So they get through all this stuff. They've done this research. They found, that guy, Oswald. They found, somebody over here, the union people. All these are troublemakers. We're aware of them. They're no problem. Let's just carry the president through the thing. If there was something they failed to detect, I could absolutely see them hiding it. Again, going back to the redactions, 50, 60 years later, to kind of still hide those things when none of it makes sense because it's just an embarrassment. How could you let the most popular man, John F. Kennedy, in the world at that moment, we're doing the moon race, we had all this stuff going on, get shot? If it was a failure, that was, to me, they would already have enough stuff to pin on a patsy. It still goes back to conspiracy. It's just, I don't necessarily think it had to be politically motivated. That, I guess, is where I was going with it. Maybe, you know, a stalker killed the man. They're like, we let a stalker kill this guy. Well, you know what? We're going to say Oswald did it. Next day, arrest him. If you look at the technology levels, and, you know, hey, I know y'all have had some discussions about Delphi. Look how long it took them to catch Richard Allen in today's technology. Now imagine then how fast they found that guy. Yes, there had to be some pre-things going on. Either, you know, something got discovered or figured out, or they already knew something was going on and either let it happen or they're embarrassed that it happened. So how do those compare from, like, you know, the time frame for, like, the Delphi murders and stuff? It took that many years. What do y'all think?
There's a lot of evidence that seems to lean towards more people knowing them. Like you said, it could be very possible. You could be very correct, man. It could be just they seen it coming and it just failed to react to it and then covered up their failed reaction to it. But a lot of it just doesn't make sense in the backstory of it. There's a lot of stuff that has to be, the groundwork that has to be laid for this all to work.
True. You're absolutely true.
The government, you hear the horror stories of how shitty the government works, really. But, I mean, it's very possible it could have been. But the jilted lover thing, I just don't see that being, you know, because the Secret Service, no matter what, they should, you know, that should have been stopped. And embarrassment, I'm sure they would have came out and said that. You know, like the Bill Clinton deal, he got caught with Monica, and that came out. I don't know. It just seems like that they, I don't know. To me, it seems like there's a lot more to it than just that. And like Brad had mentioned as well, at that time, Operation Paperclip, you know, we just brought over a bunch of Nazis too. And Nazis, you know, they're statists. They hate communists. They hated the Russians. And I mean, they absolutely hate communists. I mean, the Germans and the Russians hate each other to this day, you know, based off of this stuff that happened World War I, too. So I could see a lot of the Germans that we brought here that were in charge of NASA and all that stuff, you know, that were leading the space program, having some pull in it as well. And them seeing, you know, Kennedy, you know, a lot of people thought that he was more sympathetic to the communists than he really was. You know what I mean? Maybe a lot of that political drama was, you know, drummed up against him for, you know what I mean, for the Cuban stuff. So I could see there being pressure from government entities to get rid of him. You know, they have a black budget that they need to meet, and, you know, and maybe he balked at that, and that's what, you know, like, all right, do away with it.
You could be right. I mean, you know, again, a lot of
and if it is a jilted lover, and and they let it happen, that's just as bad as them doing it, isn't it?
True. Yeah, no. You're absolutely right. I mean, it's just, you know, we all kind of drive down the same grooves of the conspiracies. I mean, JFK, again, you know, that's a very famous case. And, you know, no, I can answer and say, no, Oswald did not act alone. There's no way it could happen.
Right.
He could not have been in all those places. You know, but when you drive down the same groove so many times, you know, you don't get anywhere. Was there another place? So, you know, that's what was like, well, hey, here's an alternate look. Maybe it was a total stalker accident, and they're like, we can't believe we didn't catch this. Just an alternate theory, but no, I do think there's a conspiracy in some shape, form, or fashion. Go ahead. Sorry, Brad.
Well, no. What you're saying is the exact whole purpose of the podcast. It's like different theories. And I want to tell you, I think that it's more, you know, and I agree that it could, you know, if you ever listen to anyone talking about any of these, you know, criminal cases, whether it be JFK or Delphi, whatever you're talking about, there's always this Occam's razor that goes into effect, which is, you know, we like to tie in all this extra stuff to it, but the reality of it is that, you know, I don't know, kid. If I'm not mistaken, the whole lexicon of conspiracy theory came into effect with this JFK thing. This is a different level, because it has to do with you know, various levels of, you know, Kid mentioned DiMaggio, which is basically the Italian mafia, and then you had JFK,
Well, see,
which came from the Irish mafia, and you had all this stuff going on.
See, and I think Ruby was involved with the Corsican mafia. I'm not 100% sure, but I think there's like 3 different types of mobs tied in. And yeah.
Well, Kid, what I need you to do, because see, I don't know a lot of those mob connections. Again, I'm not a huge conspiracy guy. I'm more of a science and logic person. So if it don't make a lot of sense, I kind of ignore it. So what is it about the DiMaggio, the mob connection? You're going to have to explain that a little bit to me.
Well,
if we got time.
the CIA, I'd have to get the document or get the exact names, but the CIA and the mob had worked, they're known to have worked together in the past. They have a relationship.
Right.
The CIA has hired the mob to do certain things, and the mob has gotten other things in return.
Yes, sir.
From the government, you know what I mean? So and at that point in time in history, they were working together. It's documented. Okay. They can prove that.
And just like last night.
It's like Tropicana. I think Tropicana was one of the main ones or something, and he did some sting operations, and I can't remember exactly what. I'd have to go back and look at it exactly, but it's they have known ties to working with the mob. Well, CIA and the mob working together.
All you have to do is look at 20 years around something. 20 years before that. Look, if you look at 1963 and you look within 20 years on each side of it, and really, let's just say 10 years before and 2 years after. What was 10 years before 1963? And really, what was 20 years before? So you're talking about the 40s and the 50s leading
1953, Brad. 1953.
That's 10 years before. Yeah, man. So now you got this 10 years before, and that was at the very end. That was whenever we talk about paperclip. There was a lot of shit going on back then. There was a lot of disruption.
Yes.
Of conspiracy going on.
Lots of distrust, communism. Yes, lots of it. Go ahead.
We talked about last night, we had Malcolm X, we had Martin Luther King Jr., we had Robert Kennedy, we had JFK, and then 20 years after that, we had Ronald Reagan getting shot. I remember we watched that shit on TV in second grade, so,
Oh, yeah.
So there's, and then you...
Yeah, that's a crazy one, too, man. That Ronald Reagan was shot by a friend of George Bush's Jr. as his friend. He was going to go eat dinner with the Bushes later that week before he shot Ronald Reagan.
Hinckley, that's right.
Yeah, and Hinckley, so there goes the intelligence community.
Which one of them was it not Hinckley that is somehow kin to the man that Booth that killed Lincoln? There was
we talked about this last night.
Yeah, go ahead.
I believe, yeah.
We talked about it last night. Everybody, Barack Obama, kin of George Bush. Kid, take it back. How far can we go? What do you know?
They say that they tell me, or I've read, that there's 8 families that settled North America before the Europeans. So that's what was here before, and then whatever was introduced. So there's not very many. So a lot of people are related. You know what I mean? Like you said, you have the Bushes related to, the Obamas, Dick Cheney. He's tied in there as well.
Well, the relations is not as much as, the correlations between the same families doing the same things. I guess that's what I was wondering, too. It's like, again, somehow I seem to remember Hinckley was somehow kin to... He tried to assassinate Reagan. One of his ancestors tried to assassinate Lincoln. There was another Booth in there somewhere. There seems like some of these families correlate, kind of like, Benedict Arnold or something. I don't know.
Well, I don't know between the 2 assassinations.
It's like, 2 people in the same family trying to kill people.
Maybe they're time travelers, Don. And time travelers is getting revenge on each other. It's just a perpetual circle of time traveling and murder.
Well, who knows? I just seem to remember hearing that. That may not have been true. That may have been one of them urban.
I think you're right though. I think his family does have ties to the political class that's here. But it can't be
Okay,
very many
okay.
families, man. It can't be very many
No.
at all. Because you know what I mean. And I'm sure they have a number. And I haven't seen anywhere, but I'm pretty sure it's probably a low number. Because you look at how England and the monarch, they have generational wealth. They've understand generational wealth for decades, for millennia. You know what I mean? For millennia.
Yeah.
So they understand. You hear stories about. I always thought it was odd that the king of none of this is real, but say the king of France wants to make a treaty with the king of Italy. Well, he gives his daughter to the prince of Italy.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is
Right,
that? Like,
they
why are you
framed
giving
it.
people away? They're not property. What the hell? Well, what they're actually doing is they're ensuring that they're going to have generational power.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's generational wealth. And, hey, this brings us to a very, thing that I really kind of wanted to throw in with this just because you said it. Do you think, now, Queen Elizabeth, hey, by all means, they should keep her. All right, but times have changed. Prince Charles, come on. The man's almost in the grave already. Should they continue with the monarchy over there, or would they be better off swapping because, they're really, if you've ever watched some of their parliament procedures, that is some crazy shit. Now, ours is probably not better, even though Robert's, procedures of parliament is observed. It's still a bunch of same BS. So do you think the monarchy is better than what we have, even though they kind of run the same situation, or what?
I don't. No way. You look at what a king the shit they got away with, and the way, no way, man. And that's what I didn't understand once we broke away and we earned our independence from it and colonialism pretty much stopped. I thought that they'd get rid of their king and queen, and it's bizarre. I think to me, it's bizarre as hell to me that they have a king and queen, but they're kind of quasi in power, but they're really not. They're the shadow government, but they're actually in the open that is telling Parliament what to do. And then Parliament puts on the WWF wrestling show for everybody, smooth everything over.
I'm Hulk Hogan,
which is pretty cool, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool. I guess maybe their shadow figures are known and maybe ours aren't known. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe we don't know their names and whatnot. So, but I don't know. I'm an American, man. We left that ideal thought, in 1776. So.
Oh yeah,
Fuck
no,
the
you're
king, fuck the
absolutely right.
queen. I'm not going to bow to
But-
any man, no matter what. I'm
Hell
not
the
going to call no
fuck
guy
no.
your Royal Highness or.
Fuck no.
I have a problem
No.
standing up when a judge walks in the courtroom. I have a problem standing up like he's some kind of, power, authority power over me. Like, nah, you get your power from me.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Well,
Who
but
the fuck
and,
is you?
yeah, no, you're right. And, there's a little bit of, I think, some of the things that most the average, and I'm talking about, look, probably 95% of America is just an average. Look, man, just let me, work, live, pay my taxes,
I got
and go
kids
about
to
my
feed,
business.
bro.
Yeah, it's just y'all handle y'all. I just want to live, love, and go about my business. And I'll pay my damn taxes. Even though you've got all these people who are, probably a little, y'all ain't quite paying your share, but all right, But it's getting to the point there is truly a them and us. And then you got the ones that are just a little too far out there to realize it. There's got to be a reset at some point. I still think America is going to be the best thing to go. We've lasted since 1776. What was it? The Romans? And so there's not many governments in the entire world in our history that's lasted more than 200 years. Brad, you're going to kind of help me with some of this.
Well,
About
empire.
Democratic governments, but now,
Yeah.
okay, but now the Barfields have been here since 1604. I just want to throw that out there real quick. Okay, so,
Yeah, shout out to all the Barfields out there
That's right.
settling
All
the Great South,
and-
brother. Hell yeah, we're proud of them.
The Ledbetters.
bro.
Don't forget the Ledbetters now. Down there in
The
Mississippi.
Ledbetters, yeah.
Jared
and how
Clark.
about
Jared
Wade
Clark.
and Willie and the boys?
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, brother.
My Texas.
All right, Brad. We're sorry to interrupt. Please. Go ahead, brother.
I want to dive into the same situation that we're talking about, but I want to go deeper into the simulation thing, because I don't. Sometimes I realize that, you know, we also been having conversations about the cannabis entrepreneur, and we've been talking about the hero's journey, and we've been talking about psilocybin, and we've been talking about
Shrooms.
But now I want to know if
Well, tell me already.
I want to know where the fuck I'm at. What am I doing? Am I at a very advanced age? Am I a simulation? Am I am I a clone? What the fuck is I?
Well, I hope there's only one of you, brother. But do you remember there was a what was it? Quantum Research that we watched, and it was the first one that actually explained the holograms and the multidimensional stuff. Do you remember what group that was we saw on YouTube, Brad?
The Quantum Research Group out of Los Angeles, California.
Right, yeah. And, you know, and they've got, you know, a whole new series about, you know, are we living in a simulation? So some of exactly what you're talking about, it still goes back to a lot of that quantum things that we've been seeing recently, like, hey, the new fusion developments. You can't tell me that shit just happened automatically. There was a technological breakthrough, and poof, we got better.
We got fusion. That's deep.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, because, I mean, 2, you know, megajoules in, 3 megajoules out. You know, I mean, of course, I'm an electrician, so I understand that's a lot of freaking power, you know, and that's a huge investment in our futures and stuff. You know, so it almost seems like it's science fiction. So if you go back to the simulation, are you living in one? Probably. Because of the fact that, you know, there's been a final marriage between religion and the science, you know, and again, it goes back to that one thing that me and you saw from the quantum research. If you go by Schrodinger's cat, you know, cat's in a box with the gas thing. If you open it, he's alive and dead at the same time. If you open it, you've observed it. There's got to be a larger being letting us see our current reality. That's the current theory, and, you know, just the reading and stuff I've done is I actually believe that a lot. Is there's got to be a quote unquote God, for lack of a better label. It's just not, you know, so worried about our tiny little ant bodies right here, but, you know, that's your personal beliefs, you know. But I do think you're living in a simulation. It's an interpretation in the minds of something else.
Yeah.
We're only interpreting what we are limited to see. Thus, you know, hey, some people see ghosts. I think they see a little deeper into reality. They see through the simulation. Supernatural powers. I think maybe folks can tap into that alternate thing. In my opinion. Oh, hey. That is
well, it's just like something that lives on the two-dimensional plane. Right, it's like something that lives on a two-dimensional plane could never explain to you what a three-dimensional object is unless it's in two-dimensional terms.
Right.
So there could very well be other dimensions, like you said, where spiritual, other energy are allowed to view. Because if you look at a 4D image, it's the shadow of a 4D image is a 3D image.
Right,
yes.
Which was on, that was on that video we were looking at by the Quantum Research Group, which is very
so if you go by, and if you go by how that process works, it scientifically leads you to believe that, yes, it's more than likely that we're in a simulation, but and I'm glad you touched on that, Don, because every time I talk to anybody about it, the first thing they say is, well, you saying God ain't real? And it's just like, that's not what I said. I said maybe it's more complex than, it's maybe the people that wrote the the Bible or the religious text that you choose to believe in, maybe they explained it in terms that they understood at that space and time that they lived.
They wrote
maybe
it
we're not
to,
maybe we're not understanding
Yeah.
the exact translation of it or something. Maybe something's being lost in it.
And you're right. There's a loss in translation because, hey, and now let's touch on this and we can move on.
And how do you tell somebody that doesn't know how to use a hammer, or somebody that doesn't understand how to build a computer or doesn't even understand quantum mechanics? How do you explain to them how the universe was started?
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
And
you can't start going this atom and this, this quantum start reading. They're going to be like, what in the hell is this guy talking? They're just they're going to phase it out. But if you tell him a story that he can relate to, like, hey, you're a sheep herder. Well, this is how the world started. When a sheep, and they able to explain it in terms that they understand. That's all I was
follow that
as
star. That star.
Yeah.
See that? That's special.
Yep.
Follow that one.
Yep.
Oh, wait, that was a supernova. Never mind. The history is written by the winners. The interpretations are written by the current morality of the time. And now this is going to go back to an old callback. Is moral isn't always right. But the morality of the time, thus, slavery was popular a long time ago. Was it moral?
Legal isn't always moral. Yep.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah, and there's the kind of thing. So when you start looking at it in terms like that, there's a lot of the things I have to just be open-minded enough to question. It's like, well, this was written by humans. This was written by men. It wasn't written by a divine being. It was an interpretation. So, that's where you get into that religious and, leave it alone. But, I'm beating it like a dead horse. Got you. All right,
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
Let's pull it back just a little bit. Let's don't go so deep. Because, everybody has this different interpretation of like how this whole thing came into being. There's.
Yes.
I mean, of course, we all have these different interpretations. Of course, I'm and like a lot of us that are on this line. In fact, all of us that are on this line, we understand there's more than one interpretation, and we all kind of fall somewhere in between, and not exactly the same spot. But we all understand that there's a spiritual world that people refer to. There's this technical world. There's this base reality that we're having to deal with. This is what I need help with from you guys. And
real quick, just real fast. It's also the respect for your view that may be a tiny bit different than mine, even though we are all kind of on the same page.
I mean, it has to be a little bit different. There's no way that my eyes looking in the
can see. There you go. All right.
Exactly. Yeah, I have to agree with that, man, because an electrician walks into a room, looks at a room totally different than what a plumber looks at a room.
Yeah,
Totally
interpretation, different. Yes, the interpretation forms the basis of your beliefs. So, all right, Brad, sorry, brother, go ahead.
Okay, so I want to dive into something that's really been plaguing me lately, and that's the whole battle of good and evil. I mean, I have been, everywhere I go, I'm looking at this. I'm like trying to understand if there even such a thing as evil. Is there such a thing as good? Is it just, am I creating this? Is this like some kind of a Socratean, philosophy that I'm putting forth? Is this like a religious thing I'm putting forth? I mean, just if you dig all that interpretations, all this religious, all this philosophical, all this stuff, is there really a good and evil out there? I want so Donald, you started the last thing. Kid, I don't know. Do you want to talk about good and evil?
Yeah, I think
come on, kid.
I think there is good and evil, and maybe it's not the whole spiritual realm of it as well. But there's good and evil as far as the whole point of life is continuing life and then to build up on our successes. Correct? To advance civilization. Is that what our goal is?
You would think it is. Yes.
Yeah, but
maybe.
Now, let me ask a quick clarification. Are you talking about
anybody that would go against that, I would say would would have an evil agenda. Now, is the person
Right, but
evil?
no.
I don't know.
Ooh.
The ideas and, maybe evil, but I don't know if maybe the person may not be evil. But definitely the motivation and the ideas behind it are.
Well, see, and that was,
That's deep. That's deep.
what I was trying to get into is like, are you discussing, and Brad, now I need you to clarify this because you asked the question. Are you asking about the idea of good and evil, or are you asking about the way a person feels? Because the way a person feels is, okay, well, my current problems with my neighbor and stuff out here. Well, I feel I've been wronged. He feels he's been wrong. So he thinks I'm evil. I think he's evil. But that's between us. The idea of good and evil, that's a totally different question. What are you asking?
Right.
I want to.
You guys having a dispute that you guys are having a communication issue or something. I don't think that you don't think that he's evil, do you?
Well, I could, because in this particular case, if you know all the back history, oh yeah, this is kind of the. Have you ever watched Roadhouse?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the guy that drives down the road, just taking up the whole road because he just thinks he owns it and he's entitled. There you go. That's this type of fella. So see, in my mind, the man's evil because he feels he's entitled to things he's not justified for, but he wants them, and I fight against him. So I can see myself as good because I'm protecting my land, my boundaries, and my property, because he is trying to take that from me. See, I see him as evil because he purposely built an extra 8-foot of fence onto my land, and I went up there and took a bandsaw and cut that shit off. Because, nope, you ain't building it on my land. See,
I should have never asked.
Evil. See, total difference there, baby.
Well, what I'm getting at is that to me that doesn't rise to the level of you call something evil.
No, that's
you know what I mean. To me, it wouldn't be. I'm talking about you're actively trying to stop civilization from progressing. You're murder. You're killing kids.
Oh, but see, see. You're talking big high-level stuff, but if you're talking fundamental, good and evil, fundamental, yes. But high-level, hell yeah.
Okay, so is there something out there that's evil? Is there true, or is there just shit that goes wrong sometimes? That's my question. Is there really such a thing as like something in this universe in which we operate that is evil, that has a sinister mind? They want to go into a sinister direction, or is this something that just happens sometimes? That's with Delphi, with any of this stuff. Go ahead, Kia. Sorry.
No, you're good. I said, well, we're all made up of the stars, right? Same elements that make the stars make up us, correct?
That's what they say. Yes.
So, and there is something called dark energy. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
well,
I don't know.
The biggest thing was that is like, there's so many arguments for, the dark energy is even there. But regardless,
there's a good, there has to be a bad. So.
Well, if there's a light, there's a dark. If there's
right.
a heads, there's a tails. I mean, there's the biggest thing. It's the yin and the yang, the old
you
Eastern.
Can't have one without the other, though. You cannot have a yin without a yang. You can't have a good without a bad. You can't have a penis without a vagina because you would have nothing to do with it.
If you have light, there is a shadow somewhere. But there's always the touch of light in the shadow, and there's always a touch of shadow in the light, which is why the yin and yang have black and white eyes, because you can't have either one without the other having a touch of the other. There's not a breaking line that says good, evil. There's a little bit of both in both. It's just, what do you want to follow? I mean, if you want to follow the consistency of what we call civilization, then we follow the morals of, protect your young, love your wife, blah, 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 list out as many things that you think is good. Well, there's going to be somebody in the world that is going to be sitting there thinking, hate your wife, beat her, treat her like dog shit. There is good and evil, but it's all in the perspective of the person that has the thoughts. You can have evil thoughts, not act on them, and still be good. You can have good thoughts, be evil, and not act on them, and still be a bad bastard. So it is out there. I think it's interpretations.
Right, but short of a mental illness, typically people that perpetuate evil understand that they perpetuated evil.
Some do. Some actually realize it after the fact, but some of them still don't even know, well, what did I do wrong? I mean, there are people that are broken, and then there's people who just act broken. Again, you're looking at good and evil. The good folks that act bad, it may not be on their fault, but you get a whole lot more of them that act bad and pretend it ain't their fault. That's just pure evil. My opinion, but it's still a perspective. I mean, they thought they were justified in it. Otherwise, why did they do it?
So is there a God? Because, if you listen to the conversation you guys have been having there, if there really was good out there, then good would win. And is God good? I don't know. I'm just trying to figure this out. I have been trying to balance this good and evil thing for the past few months because I couldn't understand it. People are talking about there's good and there's evil, and it mutually arises, which is what Don was talking about, and Kid was probably thinking as well. It's like there's no way you can have one without the other because you couldn't even know what evil was if you didn't know what good was. If you didn't know what good was,
you have to have an idea of one to have the opposite idea.
Well, but there is bad out there that most of us can say is bad. I mean, right? Am I wrong?
Right. The most simplest way I'd probably explain it, try to break it down, is that evil would be being selfish, and good would be being selfless.
But that's because you're selfless. But that's what I'm trying to say is you're absolutely right, Kid. Is being selfless and putting someone else ahead of you is like opening the door for your wife or, any number of a million things that's ahead of you. That's being selfless. We consider that good because I'm selfless, Brad's selfless, you're selfless. But if you took selfish people having this same conversation and it'd be go, man, I'd smack that bitch upside the head, they would be saying that was good because all three of them would agree. I think it's a matter of perspective in the ideas. But I do believe that overall we all want to be exactly what we call good, be selfless in a lot of ways.
Well,
yeah, that's a better way to put it. I agree. Yeah.
I tell you this: whenever I go to a fast food restaurant, which I try not to, but I always say yes, ma'am, and no sir to people because they're serving me food.
Oh, I do.
And it's amazing though, like what that means to people. It's like we're showing respect for people, and I don't know that, like, whenever I look at good and evil, I look at people that don't try as evil. Like in other words, if you don't evil is something that happens if you don't do anything. Like what they always say about the idle hands are a devil's workshop. I almost believe now that good is something that you have to strive for. You've got to actually...
you've got to work to be good, which is why, okay, just real quick, organized the R word. Strive to be good because of that reward at the end. Otherwise, see, I think there's been evil people telling these people that. So, see, that's what that...
Using as a population control measure. Definitely.
Be good, otherwise you're going to burn. Otherwise, you can struggle to be happy. Fight to be happy for the status quo, and you will be rewarded afterward. Now, while you're here on the mortal plane, yeah, you're going to suffer like a motherfucker. But you know what? Suffer for me because I'm the top of the chain and you feed me, but you'll reward later.
Right, because people are perpetuating that on you, too. It still doesn't mean that there isn't a God, though. You may go through your whole life, and it may, you know what I mean?
And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely correct. But it's the threat. It's the people that keep telling you that. I already know it, but, you know, my relationship with that person is my business. It's the organization of it to say, unless you do it this one way, you're going straight to hell. There's the problem that comes with it. Yeah, and that's what I was trying to get with what Brad was talking about, is if they had left it like that, it probably wouldn't have been nowhere near as bad. There's been more killed in the name of whatever you consider the highest being than anything else. It's just the organization of it.
Kids, break your part aside. Like, you know, it could be that you could end up with the same perspective, but how would you get to where he's talking about, kid?
I think that. I mean, he's right though. Your perspective of good and evil is based on your values of, you know, the society that you live in. I think there is. I don't know. I think there is a God. Whether there's people that's using it for evil or good, it doesn't negate whether it's true or not.
True. Now I agree with you 100%. There's something way bigger than me. It just ain't
like
necessarily...
you said, to believe any one of the doctrines that man wrote, that's to me, that's the struggle I have. And, you know, I try to do, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but, you know, you inherently know when you're, you know, doing evil shit. Like when you were younger and out doing evil, you know when you're doing evil shit. Like you're hurting people, right. It's how I've always felt about it. But like you said, there's people that actually, you know, take advantage of people, and they look at it as like, oh no, they wanted to be taken advantage of, or they wouldn't have let me do it.
Ooh.
Like I said, and I think that goes more to the mental health aspect of it more than the society.
I think a lot
because
of that,
society doesn't.
Hold on, I got one thing. I got one thing to throw.
All right, go ahead.
So, like, I had a conversation today with a guy about free will, and there's the Armenian, and then there's the Calvinist version of it. And the Calvinist, you know, they believe that, you know, there's kind of a, it's not necessarily determinism.
Pride and suffering.
Yeah, it's a lot more suffering. But then the Armenian way is there is free will. Like, you can make those decisions. But now if you get taught that you're going to be taught lessons, that Calvinistic perspective, that and the way things turn out or the way they're supposed to turn out, like a preordained bullshit. But then the Armenian version of it is that you know, you have free will and you can twist and turn this shit the way you want it to be. I mean, you know, in other words, you can be like those. I always wanted to be a Jesuit priest. I always wanted to be, because I always thought that was some cool shit. Because they get to make decisions about things that a lot of other Catholic and Protestant type religions don't get to. They get to explore what we're exploring tonight. They get to go in there and dive into these things and don't feel bad about it, because there's something out there. There's this debate out there amongst certain people that can discuss it. Not everybody can discuss it. The things that we're talking about tonight, you know, a lot of congregational people could not discuss because of the fact that they have leaders that tell them what to think about that, and they don't want to have to think about it. They don't want to have to go up there and decide what's good and evil. They don't want
followers and leaders. Yeah, that's what you're trying to say. And yeah, Brad, just to interject real fast, followers and leaders, that is the fundamental of, do you believe there's that one, or is there something more? My opinion. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, kid, what do you think?
I agree. It's Indians and Chiefs. There's definitely personality traits that blend towards different, you know, different organizations. Like organized religions, you'll have, you know, a herd of sheep.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're way off down a path now. And so, like, if you really looked at where Kid and I have been the last couple of days, we've been discussing. We spent several hours talking about cannabis, and we talked about the mushrooms, which is
the devil's lettuce. Oh yeah, I love devil lettuce. Yeah. Go ahead, shrooms. Go ahead, Brad. Tell us more, please.
We went down this aisle, and like, so is it like, are we really kind of here? Are we in reality? Are we like part of the community of Earthlings? And, you know, psilocybin being one, and he was being the other, and that we had some, you know, receptors for what that thing has, and we have receptors for cannabis. And, you know, I think that a lot of modern religions, this is just my opinion, I think that a lot of modern religions make it way too simple. They like to try to put this actor plane stuff out there. This, you know, you have to be good for this actor plane existence if you want to get into the actor world. But to me, you know, the good and evil is a different thing. To me, being decent or being good, fair, you know, as best you could. It's hard to do that being a, you know, an individual entity, because, you know, there's different kinds of individual entities. Some people believe that we were injected here into the earth by some fabled god, and some of us believe that we came out of the earth, that we're a part of the whole fucking system here, that we're like a, you know, this, you know, that we're on earth and that we evolved here, and that we're like a part of this fucking thing, and that we're like bigger than that the human being is some kind of a transcendental thing. It's like it has a brain that is like kind of the overseer of the rest of the earth. We're kind of like the guardian of the earth. But, you know, and to me, that's the way I view human beings. I you know, we're supposed to pick up all the sticks that fall down and put them in piles and make all the other stuff Euclidean. You know, we're here to help shape and balance the world out there. But I don't think everybody views it like that. You know, I've been looking at this Delphi case, and I look at all these scenarios that went on, and, you know, some things that really drove me was absolutely crazy was the amount of crime out there, the amount of what I would call evil as a person that lives on this earth that wants to live in balance with it. You know, I want to be, you know, I want to help move everything forward. I don't want to, you know, just kill and dismember. I don't think that's my job, although, you know, I kill to eat. I get that. But I don't like, you know, make a mockery out of it. So back to good and evil. I mean, is it just in my brain that there's this thing that I'm seeing as good and evil? Am I just like, is it just because I was like a Methodist boy that grew up in an Anglican area, and I like straight lines? And I
imagine it's probably more of how your mind works. You know, your mind builds. You know, we're built to recognize patterns, and your mind's probably recognized certain patterns that tend to lead towards better outcomes with religion, and your mind has recognized that pattern subconsciously.
Donald, what do you think?
Well, again, you know, I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, good and evil is a inherent trait that you could be evil in terms of, you know, again, you're talking about the Delphi case and stuff. You know, it drove you to the point to actually dig and dig and dig. Now, I thought it was horrible. You know, now I'm a father, and I hate the thought of those girls, but it didn't drive me to that point. And, you know, so am I evil for not caring as much as you?
No.
You know, well, no, I know, but some people would think that. I mean, you know, so when you start talking about good and evil, you got to be considering the degrees of what do you consider evil. I mean, do you care about Yeah, I mean, do you care about the one woman that was out there in BFE and the bounty hunter came and hunted him down while all the other girls that happens to, no one does all that for? Is that good or evil? I don't think there's necessarily a good and evil. I think it's all a case of people will allow themselves to do what we as a society consider evil things, like with the Delphi case. That was evil. I mean, truly. I mean, you had a person that had all the opportunity in the world not to do what they did. They, it happened, and it was horrendous, regardless of how and why. We hate that it took so long to get any kind of justice, but I mean, that was evil. But the man made a choice. Before that, he was probably thinking about what he wanted for supper. Anybody else think, well, he's not a bad man? It's all interpretations on what you do. You can have bad thoughts, not act on them, and not be evil. It's only evil when you act on it.
I agree, Donald, and it could relate to what if his religion, he was, doing a sacrifice, and in his eyes, he's seen it as a positive because he's sufficing his God's need or whatever, whatever his religion may be, and he sees that as a positive because that's what his religion calls for. It calls for sacrifice. Maybe not the religion we believe in, but there are religions, besides the religions that maybe we're talking about,
right.
Catholicism, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and because
somebody that worship, somebody that's a sun worshiper or something, or and has to sacrifice, whatever for whatever goals or whatever thing that they have to do for their deity or for their God, they're going to do it they're going to think they're doing something positive.
Well, look at the people.
I could definitely see your point.
Yeah. I mean, just look at let's just say 9/11 happened exactly the way. I mean, again, because there's a lot of stuff with the 9/11, just like the JFK thing. But let's just say it was all a few people with those convinced beliefs. They do not think they were evil. They thought they were going to have, I guess, 50 virgins in the next life, if you go by the Quran and, that kind of thing. But they never once thought about they were evil. We think they're evil. But are they evil? So, yeah, that's a very philosophical, if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound? Nah, yeah.
All right. I want to change gears for a minute. I want to talk about something that's much more interesting. And this conversation is called rock and roll. I want to hear about rock and roll. Where we at with rock and roll? Is rock and roll kick ass now, or is it gone? What am I supposed to feel about rock and roll? Kid, lead it off.
Yeah, kid, you go have to handle that, brother.
Man, as rock and roll, I was never, real big rock and roll fan myself. I was more punk, and then went on to hip hop, and but I listened to some of it. I haven't heard any decent rock and roll. I guess maybe, I don't know, Pantera.
See,
that, to me, that's the latest for me. I don't, like Nickelback and all that. It's more poppy. It's that.
Yeah,
everything's crossed with pop,
genre.
even country. I used to, I don't like country because it sounds too poppy now. Like the old country where they were telling a story and shit, and whether, it's some shit I couldn't relate to growing up, but the dude was telling a story, so it kept your attention. It was interesting. Oh, okay, that's how they're living there.
Yeah.
It was more interesting, but rock and roll, I think
why
it's
you
been
like
a
Jerry
while.
Clark. Jerry Clark,
right.
Jerry Clark,
exactly, yeah.
The story.
Dude, I can't believe I had no idea who that guy was, man. That guy's a riot, dude. That dude has some of the best storytelling abilities, man. That is a riot.
Hey, I've seen him in real life.
But I think rock and roll's been dead for a while, man. Unfortunately, creativity altogether has been stifled. I mean, just the way our society is, creativity is dead.
See, that's exactly the point I was trying to get into right there. But now, because I saw, I had a news report come through my phone today, and it said that 2022 was the music of remixes from old music. So like all the major music that hit the top of the charts in 2022 was sampling from or remixing songs from 30 or 40 years ago. And I was like, wow. So if you listen to like Jimi Hendrix and Kurt Cobain, 20 years later, and I mean, it's all about those three chords. You can get those three chords and do anything, but man, music is not just three chords anymore. It's not about that. It's about something different. So like, and I don't understand it. So like, I always compare music to spirituality, because it's like, the music playing in the background of wherever you are kind of describes of where you're at. And the music that I hear now, it doesn't even have like that 2/4 beat, like boom, 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 boom. It's like it has this. It's like something I can't even count to. It's like this really weird shit. And of course, I know that things are going to, go through some kind of evolutionary process. It's going to change. And of course, and I was young, and I was still consider myself as young. And like you guys kind of tell me where you're at with this, but as I fade off into my 50s, I mean, I get what everybody was saying. It's like, the creativity, the thing that we saw back then as being what creativity is, and the thing that we saw as what was good and what was bad, it changes on us. Like with my dad, I see him all the time. He's 23 years older than me, and he stays up on it. But as we get, he stays up as much as he can with the modern stuff. But man, after a time, what we thought was cool and the perspective becomes irrelevant, and that kind of fucking sucks, bro.
Well,
Yeah.
no shit, man. Hell, who wants to wear a mullet anymore? That used to be cool. Achy, breaky,
It is cool
heart.
again.
Billy Ray. No, it is not
cool
fucking
again.
cool.
It is.
Bro,
no,
I was
no.
at the grocery store. I am not
Morgan
even
Wallen
kidding you.
loves it. Yeah.
I'm not even kidding you. I seen four little Joe Dirts at the fucking grocery store in the same trip, bro. Same grocery store.
I will still think they are uncool. It don't matter if they think it's back in style. I think it's disgusting. I know what you're saying, though. I mean, look, bell bottoms are back in. And going back to a little bit of Brad's point, there's Taylor Swift the other day. They was accusing her of like so many of her songs have the same 2 or 3 chords, and I'm like, all her songs sound the same. Well, there does come a point of, regardless if you think it's rap, rock and roll, hip rap, country rap, hip country rap, whatever. I listen to a little of all of it. And there's only so many combinations of ways you can say the same things, and the songs make sense. So it's really, truly not a surprise that a lot of folks are remaking the old songs because of the fact of, can you imagine, you think about some of the lyrics from the 50s and stuff, and they didn't rhyme. They just kind of did things.
Right. Well, and a lot of it too, you see in the music industry, man. A lot of it is it's a controlled industry. So, like Kanye West, is a rare thing because they don't allow people with new ideas to come in and tell them how to run their industry anymore. That's what I'm saying. Like creativity's dead because they don't allow it anymore because now it's a bottom line. It's an industry. It's a business first and foremost. We're going to get our money off of you.
Yeah,
and then we can talk later down the road as far as if you want your rights and creativity and all that. But for now, you're going to do what the fuck we say, and you're going to do how we say to do it. It's how you're going to do it. And it's dead, man. It's been stifled by industry and by capitalism.
Well,
and it's
it goes
literally
back
that market. That cronyism has allowed a few people to control that whole industry, and that's why you have creativity. That's why we have shitty music to this day.
Yeah.
Well, I guess some of it, what I was trying to get to with that, and I don't know if I got there, was if it didn't happen in my lifetime, that it wasn't real. So they go back to a song that, hey, one day we're going to see Twisted Sisters, something remade.
The polka version of Twisted Sister.
Yeah, just something like that's going to happen because it didn't happen in my lifetime. And they go, come on, feel the noise. Put one left foot out, put one right foot in. Whatever polka is. But, yeah, someone will take that and remake it. And that's a lot of, now, I like a lot of those old songs I heard when I was younger remade. But then I go, oh, that was way better. There was more feeling to it. You wasn't just repeating the words. And there's a few bands. Yeah, there's a few bands. Like, all right, so, one of my absolute favorites is Johnny Cash doing Nine Inch Nails' Hurt. He puts feeling into that because, his wife had died a few months before that. And if you watch the video and you listen to... Go ahead.
So it's not just about the same, playing the same musical chords or saying the same vocals. The delivery of the music is just as important as the music itself.
To me, it is, because I'm not just listening to the word. I'm listening to the emphasis.
You don't have
beat,
people like that.
How they present it. Right. There's very few of them that will do that.
Right, because the people that have that attitude, they don't want them sitting down with those record execs because they're assholes. They don't want to have to do it, They'd much rather tell somebody to do so. You're going to do it like this. They don't want somebody talking back and going, hey, man, that's not how we fucking do our show. We're going to do it like this.
Yeah, that's right.
Charlie Greer does it like this, motherfucker, and this is how I'm going to do it. And if you don't like it, I'm not going to do it. Well, they don't reward that behavior, so... you don't reward that behavior, so you get a lot of yes men in there. They're like, yes, sir, I'll do, I just want to be famous, or I just want to, have a little bit of money.
Yeah, but
so they do what the yes man says, and it's.
But now, Charlie Greer, I have a lot of respect for that dude. I'm not going to lie to you.
The dude is a legend and doesn't even know he's a legend yet.
Man, he goes out there every single fucking day, and he doesn't give a fuck if he gets 2 views or 0 views or 30 or 100. And he goes through that shit every day. He tells us some deep shit. I listen to him a lot.
Dude, get his book. Get his book and read it.
I didn't even
I'll go ahead and read. I'll go ahead and say sorry, Charlie, because I have no clue who you're talking about. So y'all go ahead and inform me. Sorry, Charlie.
He just tells his story. He has so many fucking stories I've listened to of this guy. I'm like going, all I know is that motherfucker was there. You hear me? I know.
Right. I ain't trying to be disrespectful at all to Charlie, but the stories he had, bro, he is like the Forrest Gump of Hollywood. Like he showed up to Hollywood, and you won't get his book done, I know, but if it's like $10 on Amazon, bro. Next time if you're trying to meet that low threshold, trying to get that free shipping, just throw the book in there, get it and read it, man, because he'll give you a lot of insight into like the music industry and how that shit works and the cronyism and that's what a lot of that stifling of creativity. He talks a lot about it in there and shit, and it's just. Yeah, they don't want new ideas. They want to be, they want to be they want to control the shit.
Hey, well, he sent me some of his music he recorded, and I actually listened to it. And like he and I agree what music is. Music is, it's not this fucking formula. And like a lot, there's a lot of musicians out there now that they don't give a flying fuck about whatever record companies think. They're going to produce it on their own, and a lot of them do well. Because there's a lot of respectful stuff out there. I know some guitar players that I consider like, Beethoven and Bach. These motherfuckers are, symposium symphonies composing motherfuckers with a guitar. And they get together with a keyboardist and a drummer and another guitarist and whatever else, and they go through and they have. It's not just this 1, 2, 3, 4 bar bullshit that we've all been heard about with guitar music, man. These guys are explorative. You know, there's more to it than just 1, 2, 3, 4 in music. You know,
Well,
there's more to it than all that stuff.
Well, let me give you a technical side to that. Is you're absolutely right. I mean, Eddie Van Halen, Santana. I mean, so many of these people who actually worked to perfect, their tunes and stuff. You're looking at a time of computers and where you can record one person playing the perfect strands and repeat it. So that, to the current people, they don't see that's a result of someone that's just talented and they practice for hours and hours and hours to be able to do these things. That is what's missing to me in the heart of, the music we had, like Brad, I know you listen to tons of music, Nirvana, and, a lot of the ones that were, to me, they were a little dark. But, like I listened to the beats and the rhythms, and I was more about the energy of the music. Honestly, most of the time people would say, hey, have you heard so-and-so? And I go, well, what does it sound like? And they would have to give me the rhythm before I'd know it. Because I just didn't care about the words. I cared about the rhythm and the energy. But now, today, the energy is like, well, you turn on one of your music playing services and you either get a high-energy beat or you get my wife left me and my dog went with her, and, or you get a hip-hop version of either or. You are missing the creativity because it's like, well, let's just rinse and repeat. A few of the things are different. I mean, I don't know if Kid was involved. Did you see the Spoon Lady? Did I send that to this channel? Or that was Brad and another guy? Brad making fill you in about the Spoon Lady. But, okay, I'll shut up now. Y'all go ahead.
Now, the music deal is, like I said, I think a lot of it's the delivery of it, how the artist delivers the music as well. Not only, like you said, there's only so many chords on a music instrument, and only so many words to describe something, or eventually you're going to step on somebody's toes and say something that somebody else said. But also, like I said, how you deliver it, that Johnny Cash, how he was able, you can hear the emotion in his voice. The delivery was fucking phenomenal. And you listen to Nine Inch Nails' version of it, and it's like, what the fuck? You think that Johnny Cash wrote that song, and he did a copy of Johnny Cash's song, when in fact Trent Reznor wrote that song.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of what it seems like. But like I said,
it's
with
the
delivery,
emotions involved. Yes, you're absolutely right. Nine Inch Nails was more, they just screamed it. Johnny Cash
like the music,
he felt it.
Like the music and the rhythm and stuff. Me, I like it. I'm more that I could maybe I like punk music, but I like that irregularity. When I hear a musician fuck up, I like it because they're not playing a backtrack. They're actually playing the fucking instrument. And if you're a rock star, dude, I expect you to be fucking high on cocaine. Your dick to smell like a hooker. and I expect you to miss several chords during a show. You know what I mean? I expect that.
And there you go. See, the thing of it is the mark of the rock star is the guy that can have his dick smelling like a hooker. And I hope you can tell me, because I ain't gonna smell it. But if he messes up and can play right through it and make him feel like, hey, I meant to do that shit, that's when he's a rock star. Now, Kid, you let me know which hooker that guy's dick smelled like. You go ahead and do that. I don't care.
Hey, we're gonna add in somebody else real quick. We're gonna try to add him in. This dude right here is going to bring a level of conspiracy that we can't even comprehend. Y'all ready
Holy shit! Is this Tommy?
Hey! Let me go get my tinfoil hat real quick, man. Let me get this motherfucking chin strap. Let me get my chin strap on this motherfucker.
All right,
y'all ready? I'm going to try to add Cliff in. Cliff said he was going to join us.
Oh, it's Cliff. All right.
Cliff is Cliff understands the whole QAnon thing. Y'all ready for that?
Oh, hell
Yeah,
yeah.
let's hear it,
Come on,
man. Yeah, let's hear it because, I
let's
want to
get
hear it
some
because I have
lasers
some questions.
Yeah, where in the hell is John F. K. Jr.?
Yeah, he's in my basement, dude.
Dude, do you have the lasers down there too?
Put the lotion on its skin.
Oh,
And get the hose.
Or get the hose. Oh, hell yeah. I love that movie. All right, go ahead, add Cliff. I think he went ahead and tried to add Cliff, just ignored us.
Yeah, I think him and Cliff are hanging out together like, fuck them two.
It's like, damn, man. They're talking damn, Silence of the Lambs and shit. What the fuck?
Yeah, and I think that you were talking earlier, too, that I think that QAnon was the Pizzagate and started all that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah, the Pizzagate stuff. And then, like I say, you had Taylor Green, and she made a comment one day, and I laughed so hard, and it was talking about all the fires out in California was because of the Jew space lasers. I can send you the video of her saying that crap.
Okay. So now
okay.
Everybody put their penises in their pants. There's, the chick is going, and
I'm almost done.
Okay.
All right.
So now we have Cliff doing this, and Cliff is he's around our age, and Cliff is probably he's one of those musicians that love Cliff is very technical, but I'm gonna let Cliff tell us about him for a minute, and then after that we're just having kind of a free for all conversation, Cliff. Hey,
Cliff. How you doing? I have no clue why Brad can't describe you, but please, by all means, talk to us, brother. Brad, I'm messing with you, brother.
People are always evolving. I want Cliff to tell us where he's at, because Cliff says, I don't want to put Cliff in a box. I'm not going to try to put Donald in a box. I put my dick in a box, but I'm not going to put Kid Check the Rock.
Dick in a box. Oh, man.
All right.
I don't really know what to tell you other than a little about myself. I mean, I'm a graphic artist, and excuse me. I design things for a lot of big music artists and a lot of college athletic programs, and like Brad said, I'm a musician. I played in some rock bands for several years, and fell in love with Jesus when I was about 13 years old, and that's guided a big part of my life. But when I was about 20, I decided I needed to know why I believed what I believed, and that took me down a rabbit hole of sorts, and I've always been a truth seeker, and so there's a lot of things that I've, I don't know how to explain it really, but I'm pretty open-minded guy, and I have a way usually of staying grounded to a point, but I love talking about stuff. So whether it's spiritual, whether it's conspiracy stuff, whether it's music, whatever it is. So,
well, Cliff, I love your resume. Thank you for applying.
Sounds like you're gonna fit in.
Yeah. Hey, Brad, we're a bunch of easy going fellas and stuff. Me personally, my name is Donald Vinsley. I live in South Arkansas and stuff, and there's a whole bunch about me you probably don't want to know, but I may not be going down the black book type level of it, but there is something bigger than me. So hey, it's always open discussion, man. Now, Brad's into the music thing, and that's what he brought you in for. So let's talk about music. We can go to any other trails later.
I brought him. I brought this in to let's go deep, because conspiracy. We talked about conspiracies earlier, And I'm ADHD. I go from one circle to the other. We went from conspiracy, and we started out with John F. Kennedy stuff, and now we with the music as like a cheese between the wines. But now it's like MC Hammer back in 1990. I want to go deeper. I want to go deeper.
Hammer time. Dun, dun, dun. Is that what you're hammer time? Is that what you're trying to say?
Break it down.
Bust a move. Young MC. See, I threw it all off. I threw all y'all off. All right, so what we would like to discuss, please, by all means.
Let's Cliff. Let's all give each other a little bit of time. We'll start out with Cliff. We go to Kid. We go to Don. We go to Brad. And I'm gonna do is just change subject for just a little bit. But I want to hear you guys, because you guys are all you guys are like passionate with this stuff. I'm like a little shallow dude. I walk around, kicking rocks down the road. But Cliff, kick us off. Where's your mind at tonight?
Man, you can't kick rocks.
Where's my mind at tonight? I guess the first thing that's on my mind tonight is my cousin called me earlier, and he is my aunt had to be airlifted to Shreveport today to have surgery. She had stroke this afternoon, and they live in Texarkana, and they did a clot buster treatment, and it didn't work. And so they're airlifting her to Shreveport to do treatment there. So I can give you a little bit of history about what's going on there. So my aunt's been perfectly fine most of her life. She does have some thyroid issues, and she has some diabetes and stuff like that, but she's pretty well managed on all that. But when this whole COVID thing started going down, she decided she needed to get the COVID vaccine. And since then, she's had probably 5 or 6 mini strokes, and she's had probably 3 pretty major ones.
So do you think it's vaccine related? I mean, curious.
Because the next reason I'm going to tell you this, my uncle was perfectly fine through all of this. Well, my aunt, they kind of got her in a place where she was doing pretty good, and she's had some eyesight issues and some different things that happened because of it, but they decided they were going to go on a cruise. Well, you can't get on a cruise ship without a vaccine, so my uncle decides, well, I'm going to go get vaccinated. Well, 2 weeks later, he winds up in the hospital with blood clots in his lungs. And so yeah, I'm pretty convinced that it's vaccine related. They removed Dr. McCullough, who invented the mRNAs. You guys probably all know this from Twitter and from any other form of being able to talk, because he said nobody should be receiving these vaccines. There were some Harvard doctors that were talking about this is dangerous, we shouldn't be doing this yet, and a number of things like that. And there just wasn't enough consensus, really. There was really, from what I can gather,
it was rushed.
There were just as many doctors showing concern as the media was trying to say that there was consensus on it. But the doctors with concern, of course, were being silenced or just not being talked about at all. And so I do believe that. I also, through Rumble and BitChute and different places, different sources, I've seen the videos of where I don't remember what you call it, embalmers, funeral home directors and people like that, this jars of things that they're taking out of people. These huge blood clots, that are in their blood. They can't even drain the blood out of their bodies because the blood clots are so bad. And they're having to go in and remove these things, get the blood out so that they can put the formaldehyde in. And then people going to government websites to, I don't remember the name of the country's largest funeral home business, but it's headquartered in New York, and they show where, from their own statistics, not Billy Bob in his mama's basement, from this company's yes, from this company's website, from their own statistics. You know, death rate. You know, they're the number of funerals they take care of every year, generally from year to year, raises 1 to 1.2% every year. And now that the pandemic is over with, they still, the rate right now is somewhere close to 40% higher than 2019 levels currently, 40% higher. And then the insurance companies, general consensus there, their payout amounts have been 40% higher than they were in 2019 before the pandemic. And that's the current rate, not 2020, not 2021, but the latter part of 2022. That is the rate. And so, I mean, I saw where I think what do you call it, miscarriages and stillbirths and things like that were up like almost like 4,000%. And I saw a nurse that testified the other day. She's from California. She works in the neonatal unit, and she quit. And she said, you know, at the hospital she worked in a major metropolitan area, they usually had maybe 2 babies per quarter that would die during childbirth or would be born dead or whatever, you know, usually 2, maybe 3 babies on a really bad time for every 3-month period. So basically, you know, averaging 1 a month. And she said in last August, they had 23 just in August. And she said she just couldn't do it anymore. She couldn't see it anymore. She couldn't see any more dead babies. And so she just had to quit, you know. And so it's just, there's that kind of stuff that's going on that the media is not telling people, not sharing with people. And people want to call you a conspiracy theorist when you tell those things. But when you can go to either the company's websites and get the information or to government websites and get the information, I mean, that's a different ball game. Like I said, that's not getting it from some guy, you know, in his basement or something, coming up with numbers. These are, you know, people posting these things from those websites. You can go there yourself and get the information.
Right.
So that's, you know, that pretty much takes the conspiracy theory tag off of it, you know. And so there's obviously something going on that has not been told. And also the other day, I guess you guys, I don't know if you do or not, but you know what the Twitter files thing is that's going on, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then somebody made a meme the other day that said, you know, right after Elon Musk bought Twitter, and he said, he put out a tweet that said, you know, we're going to have this information council or whatever that's going to help us determine, you know, what's misinformation and what's not, because we still don't need to be posting stuff that's not true. And he said, and the general consensus is, you know, I'm pro-vaccine, especially the COVID vaccine. It's proven to be safe and effective and, you know, all that sort of thing. And the only few adverse events that have happened are cured with an EpiPen. And somebody posted a meme that said Elon before the Twitter files, and it had that tweet on there. And then it said, Elon after the Twitter files, my pronouns are prosecute Fauci. You know, and somebody had asked him, and one of the things, are we going to hear about the COVID-19 in the Twitter files? And he basically replied back and said, yeah, and it's going to be a big one. And so, you know, that's a big deal. I saw the international doctor, was a woman here about 3 months ago, that said that this whole COVID-19 thing is going to wind up being the largest crime against humanity ever perpetuated upon the earth. It's going to have to come out. There's no way to keep hiding it. And so, yeah, this is that's what I'm thinking about today because of what happened to my aunt. But
well, and you know, I guess some of the things like with the conspiracy is, I think the vaccine. Now, I've been vaccinated, you know, and a lot of it is I didn't want to be, because I didn't necessarily trust it, but not for necessarily the same reason. You know, I'm a very technical guy, and I know, you know, hey, the earlier vaccines that they gave to people, like the smallpox, the polio, the measles, the mumps, those are well-researched and very needed vaccines because, hey, because of this new vaccine thing, there's been a resurgence in mumps and measles. Kids are dying needlessly because of it, because of this thing. Right. I think they rushed it. I do believe it should have took a lot longer than it should have. Unless now, let's flip back to the other end. You know, we're going back to a little bit of this conspiracy. Unless they had already had the cure and they was just waiting to make the money. So see, there's the thing that because of the media and the hype of you're lying, they're lying, I'm lying, you're lying. Well, I think you're lying because I know you're lying. I only lied to you because I know you know I'm lying. You get to that level of it. And, you know, hey, some of the doctors, I don't believe all of them were wrong. They absolutely believed what they think, and they could have been right. Because, again, the earlier vaccines took years. I have to account for, all right, go to technology. Moore's Law. Every 10 years, your ability to duplicate technology doubles. So I can see it being faster. And what I worry about is, you know, we already know social media, bad. You can't believe half of anything on there. Hell, half your friends are going to repeat something that their brother Joe's rapper's cousin's balls swelled up from a vaccine. Well, okay, the vaccine makes your balls swell up. Everybody's genetics are different. There's a thing like long COVID. I believe one of the people we know, wife currently has long COVID, you know, and she didn't have a vaccine at all, to my knowledge, you know, and, you know, so I think this was something that came out, it happened, whether it was gene engineered or it was natural. It was something we're used to. If it would have been treated like the flu, I think we would have been okay, but it would have been harder on people, but I don't think it would have been this level of disruptive to our society.
Right. No, and I totally agree with what you're saying. I don't. The thing is, this was a new technology. This mRNA had never been done before.
True. No. You're absolutely right.
So that was one thing. So just
that
like
was a
like
very
you were saying,
questionable technology.
Yeah, it should have been tested longer for sure. And now, do I think that it should have took 20 years or 10 years like in the past to produce a vaccine? Maybe not. You know, yes, like I said, technology gets better, things should get better. I totally agree with that. But in this instance, there was just too much around it. You know,
it was too much politicized. I still believed that it was the right choice to get it, but I don't necessarily believe it was the right time for them to push it the way they did, because it did come across politicized.
It should never have been mandated.
There you go. I mean, some of that stuff should have been. It should have been mandated without the terms of trials, like for your kids to go to school. They've got to have chickenpox or, you know, certain vaccinations. But those are tried and true vaccinations. Right.
And you can be honest about this vaccine. Well, and like this one, when it started too, there's no way they had all of those doses ready to go in the beginning. And so we know that a great number of the doses that were given in the beginning were placebos. You know, they weren't actually going on. I mean, they weren't actually.
There could have been a chance that the first 25 million of them were placebos, because again,
Yeah, and they even said it was,
we don't
they
know.
were placebos.
I mean, so
right.
yeah, we're too far down the damn feed chain to really know.
Right.
So yeah, go ahead.
Right. And they said,
my question,
that they were, that a lot of them were placebos in the beginning. And, I know a lot of people who had them, and some people haven't had one inkling of a problem with them. Some people have noticed things that are slightly different, and then I've seen lots of people who have had disastrous issues with them. And of course, the doctors are telling us, and I'm not saying doctors are evil. I'm not saying that at all. Most doctors that I know, and I actually, the guy that owns the company I work for is an anesthesiologist, and because he's an anesthesiologist, I know a lot of doctors now, and all the doctors I know are good people, But I also know that those doctors, because of how busy they are, most of them don't really have the time to go and do their own research and find things out. They just go by the guidelines that are given to them by the institutions they work at or by the CDC or wherever. So they may be giving you something sometimes because that's the guideline they've been given. That's what they've been told by these other institutions, that this is what works. And they believe it, because it generally that has been the consensus, and that has been what's worked. So I don't blame the doctors very much, on some of that stuff. Now, there have been other doctors who've come out and said, look, I just started looking at the pattern of what's going on, and my patients that were, all of a sudden I had all these patients that were getting sicker, and, and what was going on, and how they all kind of correlates with, and they were similar injuries and similar things going on, and how just suddenly, all of a sudden, all these heart issues were coming up, and all these blood clot increases, and there was really only one thing to point it back at, but that doesn't mean that it's going to affect everybody,
Sure. My question is what's the conspiracy? Is it that the government lied about the vaccine that they created and gave to us? They ripped us off financially and gave us some bunk shit that's causing health problems, or the actual virus was created by the government?
Really both are the conspiracy. Now, whether or not any of it's true, I don't know. But now, even Glenn Beck even showed a report that he had gotten from, I don't remember where it was from, but you can look it up. He shows the report to where the patent for the vaccines is owned 50% by the pharmaceutical companies, by Moderna, and 50% by the U.S. government. Yeah. And then so the conspiracy is, of course, is that, Fauci was paying these labs in Wuhan to do this gain of function research to perpetuate this virus, in which they would give us this vaccine. The virus isn't that big of a deal. It's the vaccine that's the big deal, causing all these issues. I don't know. Jesse Ventura used to have a show called Conspiracy Theory years ago. Did you guys ever see that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, there was an episode of that where he met this lady doctor down on an airfield in Texas. Do y'all remember that episode?
No.
Okay, so he met this. He was on this small airfield down in southern Texas, and he said, "I'm having a meeting with the doctor. I don't remember what her name was, and it's extremely hard to find any of his shows anymore online. They used to be readily available and very easy to find. You could go to YouTube and watch them, but you can't anymore because of copyright." That sort of thing. But anyway, you go in there and watch this, and this lady, she flew in from Mexico, and she landed on this airstrip, and they had this meeting. And so this lady used to be a congressional physician. She lived and worked in Washington. She was a doctor to Congress, basically, or had a lot of congressional clientele. And she said that she had a certain female Congress lady that she was seeing, and at one time she told her, she said, the culling is going to happen pretty soon. And she said, what are you talking about? And she said, well, it's time to get rid of all the useless people.
Okay.
And
Hey.
yeah,
Let's pause right here. I'm gonna call everybody back to make sure we're recording. I think we are, but
Okay.
so in other words, we're gonna take a little advertiser break. I'm gonna call everybody back right now. Add us in, and we're gonna start with this conversation right there. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds
Everybody, I'm gonna call everybody back right now.